Am I the asshole to ask my friend, who's a single mom, to do a paternity test on her son because I have suspicions that my husband is the father? One of my best friends had a kid 3 years ago. She said it was from a one-night stand, and later the guy expressed no interest in being a dad, so she raised her son herself. No one has ever seen this guy, not even me. The issue is this. This kid looks extremely like my husband, like to an insane degree. The hair color, eyes, face, everything. He's even been out with my friend and her son, and people have mistaken him to be the dad before. Needless to say, for 3 years now, I've had my suspicions, but I haven't said anything. My husband is also close to my friend, and the timeline works out. We were all living almost in the same neighborhood around this time as she got pregnant. Over the past year, it's really eaten at me. I see the resemblance growing more and more. It doesn't help that my friend refuses to show me a picture of her son's biological father, no matter how much I ask. It kept spiraling until I had a meltdown and confronted both of them, saying that I will pack up and leave if I don't see a paternity test. Long story short, my friend got a paternity test, but said our friendship is over. The test says that my husband isn't the father. I feel so ashamed to lose my friend, but I thought my husband would slightly understand since he sees the obvious resemblance between him and this kid. But he has moved out for the time being, and I'm worried that this is the end of our marriage. Am I the asshole for insisting on that test? I honestly felt like I had no other choice. The resemblance was unavoidable, and it was eating at me so much that no amount of therapy could help. I thought my husband would understand my fears, most of all given my history with past cheating exes. Did I f up, and how badly? Top comment. Let me see. I incline toward you're the asshole, but would ask for more info. The situation is both sad and very confusing. I get that this child looked like your husband, but it is one heck of a leap to assume unfaithfulness from him and betrayal from a close friend. My question, I guess, is did you have any reason to suspect him? Specifically, has he previously been unfaithful or given you a solid reason to distrust him? If the answer is no, then you're the asshole, I'm afraid. But it is a really sad situation. I recognize that you've lost a friend and now face the difficult challenge of reconciling with your husband. You might need outside support. This is definitely something you should have communicated with to your husband before going off with your friend and your husband demanding a paternity test. We do need a little bit more info as to why she thinks her best friend and her partner would betray her in such a way. What do you guys think?
Okay, I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible. Here are some beautiful text messages that my mother-in-law sent my husband 4 days after I gave birth while we were still in the hospital. Michael, I love you more than life itself. You're my baby, and now you have one. I've tried all that I think I'm able to try with Anastasia. You have to realize that she's your wife, not mine. I don't want to make your life harder. I also cannot make my life harder. I feel beat up and worn down and overwhelmed. I hate laying that on you. I would never tell you except you're asking me to do something that, in fact, I really already did. What the hell do you think those 2 phone calls were? For the day that my daughter was born, if not to tell Anastasia what a wonderful job she did and how proud I was of her. Does she not know her phone doesn't answer when someone calls? She can go back. I didn't block her. She can go back and forth with her mother, calling each other names and still pick up the phone and talk to her. I don't get that for me. I've known you for a minute and a half. My mom's been my mom my whole life. I really don't owe her more than I've already given. Gave absolutely nothing. On the contrary, I'm the one that deserves to be talked to. Also, I realize mentally she's not able to do it, but I'm not going to do what you do. I will not baby her, and I will not fall into Anastasia's world where it's all about her, with or without medication. We both have to learn how to deal with our stuff. For the first time, I have to put myself first. I need this, and that's hard to admit. I love you. I love my daughter. Love, Anastasia, always, Mom. This lady made my entire pregnancy about her. This all stems from her referring to me basically as an incubator and calling my daughter her baby that I was carrying, okay? This lady thinks that she's my daughter's mom. It's crazy. She wants to she invites herself over to my house even though she has to fly here, so it's imposing on me. Ruined my wedding. Makes she's extremely selfish. I can give more context, more stories, but these are some beautiful messages. she sent her son because we just can't have anything nice, right? Like everything has to be ruined. Oh, and by the way, she didn't talk to me for like the last 10 weeks of my pregnancy. I've never been disrespectful to her face or on the phone, ever. Except on TikTok, because she can get fucked.
So when I was in high school, I was friends with this girl. For story's sake, we'll call her Hannah. So it was like near the end of our senior year. I had gone and driven to Hannah's house, and it was just me and her. We were just like hanging out, whatevs. And she starts talking about how she wants to go to this party that these kids at our school were throwing. This location was called The Barn, and it was a literal barn that this kid would throw parties at, right? So I had never been to the fucking barn ever in my life. I never had fucking planned on going there, solely based on the fact, so the friend group that would throw parties at the barn, I didn't agree with their ideology. Frankly, I didn't even like any of them as people either. So I was like, fuck no, I'm not fucking taking my ass there. But she wanted to get her ass in there so bad just so she could talk to her ex-boyfriend that she has been on again, off again for how many goddamn years. And at this time, he was with a completely different bitch, you know? So in my head, I was like, there's so many things wrong with this situation and so many things that could go even worse. So me being me, just trying to please my friends, I was like, fine, we'll go, but I do not want to stay long at all. Like, just do what you need to do. Like, we need to be there like an hour max, maybe 30 minutes max. So I had hit up like 3 of my other friends to come with us because, like, again, like, I don't really know anyone at this fucking party, not really friends with any of them, don't like most of them. So yeah, they come with us, they pick us up, we arrive at the fucking barn, and the first thing we see is this kid fucking walks out of the barn and comes up to us and starts critiquing what my friends are wearing. Like, what the fuck is this? Are you a goddamn bouncer? And he's like talking to my friend like, I don't like the shoes you got on. Like, bitch, get the fuck back where the fuck you were. Do you, like, ugh. And immediately I was like, oh my god, I literally want to go home. But we press forward. So then my other 3 friends start talking about how they want to leave after like 30 minutes, maybe an hour passes. They're like, they want to leave. People here are fucking weird. They're giving them a hard time. They don't like them. And they just want to go home. And I was like, bitch, fuck yeah, like, I want to fucking leave, you know? So I'm talking to Hannah, like, all of us are talking to Hannah, we're like, okay, like, I think that is enough, like, we should go. Hannah didn't get a chance to talk to her boy yet, so she didn't want to leave, obviously. She started asking me, like, do you think we can just find another ride and you can stay with me and they can go? And I was like, me being people pleasy again, I was like, sure, like, we'll just find a different ride. And then I told my other 3 friends, like, okay, it's fine, you can go, and we'll figure it out, you know? Which I don't know why the fuck I did that, because we weren't friends with anyone there. No one was gonna fucking take us home. So the night very unfortunately goes on, and then she ends up talking to her boy, and I'm like, fucking finally, now we can almost be fucking done, you know? So, like, they leave me to go talk. I'm like, whatevs, private conversation, don't really care. But I'm by myself, so don't know anyone, by myself. So at this point, they were gone for a while, and I was like, fuck, I'm literally so over this. Like, how long is this gonna fucking take? And I had went to where they were talking. They were, like, in the back of the barn, fucking back of the barnyard, and I go up to them, I'm like, hey, guys, like, what's going on? Can I join you guys? Because literally, the whole entire time they were talking, I was, like, walking around this kid's fucking house. Like, literally a stranger's home. I'm just walking around, looking around, went in the barn, went inside their house, and I was like, wow, this is nice, you know? Hannah then tells me, she's like, the conversation's, like, really private. Like, can you, like, go somewhere else? And I was like, fine, because I have nowhere else to go anyways. So I did what I was told, trying to fucking, like, help my friend, and I just sit on this kid's fucking porch by myself, and I'm like, whatever, I'll just wait. And then this girl comes up to me, and she's fucking, like, stumbling all over the place, and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck? And she, like, grabs onto me and everything, and I'm, like, trying to help her up and everything, and I ask her if she's okay, and she's, like, telling me all the shit she was doing and everything like that. And I looked at her face, and I was like, oh my god, this girl, it looks so young. And I asked her, and I'm like, hey, how old are you, by the way? And she's like, oh, like, I'm in 8th grade, like, I'm 13. And I told her, I was like, bitch, we are literally seniors, like, 17, 18-year-olds. And I was like, dude, I should have known, I should have never fucking come here. And I was telling the girl, I'm like, oh my god, what you need to do, you need to call your mother, you need to go home. I don't care how much trouble you're gonna get in, you cannot be here. And at that point, I was so fucking uncomfortable. So then I went back to Hannah, and I was like, please, can we, like, go? I'm so uncomfortable right now. Literally, a fucking preteen came up to me just now. And she continues to, like, shoo me away because she's still talking. So I'm getting fucking irritated. So I walk into the house, like fucking storm into this person's fucking house, and I see a girl that I have like fucking art class with, you know, and I start talking to her. I'm like, hey girl, like, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And she's like, hey, like, blah, 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 like, oh my god, I didn't think you'd be here, you know, like, you know how bitches be, you know? So I'm talking to that girl, and then all her little cheerleader friends come over too and start talking to us because they were all going home together. And that's when I slip in. I'm like, hey guys, like, real talk, like, do you think I can catch a ride with you guys? Because like my friend is still talking, I have nowhere to go, and like I'm literally like just stranded here. And they're like, girl, of course you can come with us. So I'm like, thank God they were fucking there that night. So then I walk back to the porch, and like the fucking little girl is like on her phone and everything like that. She's like, my mom's gonna come pick me up. Okay, I sat there and I waited for her mother to come get her, and I talked to her mother. I didn't even know the fucking girl's name, but I was like, I don't know why she's here, but people here are older and these people are weird, and I'm trying to leave. She needs to go home. So her mom took her home, and then I went to go find Hannah again. I'm like, Hannah, I'm leaving because fuck you, to be honest, for making me do this. Yeah, I'm obviously mad at her, and I just tell her I'm going. And then I leave with all these fucking cheerleader girls. And I tell them to drop me off at Hannah's house, and I get there, and right when I get there, it's fucking 3 a.m. at this point. Hannah then calls me, and she's like, can you please pick me up? And I told her I was irritated, and I was like, dude, I've been wanting to leave for literally hours, because we got there at what, maybe 10 o'clock? It's 3 a.m. Before I left too, I literally asked her, I'm like, is it okay if I go? Like, even though I'm fucking angry, I'm like, is that okay though? You know what I mean? And she's like, yeah, I'll figure it out. She didn't figure it out, so she just asked me. So she made me drive fucking like 20 minutes back, because she was mad at me and everything, and I can't deal with people being mad at me before. So I got her, I dropped her off at her house, and I fucking took my ass home, finally. Moral of the story is, it's okay to have boundaries, and you should be able to say no. And that if you are friends with someone who is constantly pressing you for their own benefit and doing things only for their benefit, yeah, stop being friends with them, girl.
Would I be the asshole if I get an abortion after what my boyfriend did? I am 25 female. I'm 7 weeks pregnant with my first child. I thought I was having a baby with a good man, but comes to find out everything was a lie. I work as a real estate agent, and my boyfriend, who's 27, works in a windows company. Yesterday, while I was at my mother's house, I got a call from the county jail. I was confused because I never got a call from jail before, but stupid me answered it. To my shock, it was my boyfriend at the end of the phone. I was pissed because I wanted to know what he did. My boyfriend was being charged with first-degree burglary and assault. I haven't gotten any more information yet, but if I do, I will update you guys. And no, I don't want to be with him anymore. I told them I was through with him, but he said we're never breaking up, which scared me. I'm having second guesses about having this baby because they won't have a father in their life, and I will be a single mother. I doubt myself because what if I can't take care of the child? I don't want my child to have a criminal father because no child deserves that. I didn't tell him about the abortion because I knew he'd be upset, so I'm not saying a word to him. I told my mother how I was feeling about this, and she is mad with me, but she is still helping me out. I never knew my life would be like this. All I wanted was to get married to a good man and have kids, but nothing seems to work for me. So, would I be the asshole?
But it is scary, his response, we're never breaking up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's so terrifying. What do you mean?
And like, you have that kid and this dude is psychotic, and like, you are legally tied to him regardless of how fucking crazy this dude is. Like,
yeah,
you are legally, like, you gotta go to court appointments. You can't just ghost and drop off. Like, you have legal, will have legal rights if he is the father.
Let's do some makeup therapy. Today I kind of wanted to talk about my ex-best friend who brought my confidence down below the ground. Below! Sometimes she would support me and hype me up, and then other times she would low-key get kind of jealous and start to bring me down. Or she'd be like, ew, what are you doing? Or what the fuck? If I say something dumb on accident, sometimes I say something dumb. I have brain farts, you know? My now best friend actually saw it back in the day. She was like, hey, every time I compliment you or do anything, this girl is just not okay with it. And you can tell she visibly looks uncomfortable whenever I compliment you. I had no idea why she was being so rude to me, and I was sensitive, so I would always honestly really cry. We worked at the same job, and there would be, say, a guy who'd come in, and I'd be like, oh, he's so cute, let me talk to him, blah, blah, blah. And she would be like, you wouldn't, you can't, you're not gonna do it. Girl, bye, because All along, I never really knew my powers, but I'll use them for good. She was one of those people that always, like, if I had a crush on a guy, she'd go and talk to him or something. She just wanted the validation, I guess. The straw that broke the camel's back was her last boyfriend. This guy was a nightmare from hell. When they first started dating, they didn't even meet each other in real life. He was semi-Twitter famous for a stupid meme. Just the most disgusting, loud, obnoxious man ever. One time, she didn't tell him she had a TikTok or something, and he got pissed. Started going off on her like, you know how many hoes I have lined up? And then they started doing some really weird shit together. Like, they each got vial of each other's blood to wear around their neck, and she had a choker that I guess said, like, Daddy's little. I don't know if our friendship can continue because what the fuck. Eventually, I guess she tells the guy the stuff I'm saying. He turns against me too. Yeah, and then one time he's like, oh, Lauren, you're gonna be home, like, babysitting our kids for us. I'm like, excuse me? I'm not babysitting your nasty ass kids. You're not having kids with my best friend, that's for sure. We started growing apart because she was kind of choosing him over me, and she also was a shitty person to me sometimes, so I was kind of over it already. But then one day, her and her little boyfriend decide to block me. Okay, girl, bye. We stopped being friends, and my confidence, she was holding me down, man. Later on, she came back. She was like, hey, Lauren, I'm so sorry for not being a good friend, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I hope you had a chance to grow, to learn. I think she's going back to her sweet self because for a while, I do not know who that person was, and I did not want anything to do with her. This is the look, you guys. She's giving something. I don't know what it's giving, but she's giving something. She's kind of cute.
When I was 13, I made the worst decision of my life. It traumatized me so much. I'm now 19 and I regret it every day. I decided to move away from my family to a completely different city 2 hours away and live in an apartment with two girls I barely knew, one of them I had never met, to pursue gymnastics more seriously. The way this worked is Monday through Friday we had gymnastics and we would do like school upstairs online, and then every night a different parent would come stay with us in our one-bedroom apartment, and then at the end of the week on Friday we would all go back home and then drive back up to the apartment Sunday night. So I would see my mom like once or twice a week, and then some of Friday, all of Saturday, and some of Sunday. Why she let me do this, I have no idea. Also, all three of us were about the same age and I was in 8th grade. The only good thing that came out of this is I met one of my best friends who was the girl I didn't know. The gym environment ended up being absolutely traumatizing and we were all being used. Things went south pretty quick. We were all crying multiple times a day. We would cry before practice, we would cry at night anticipating practice, we'd cry after practice, and our parents were like, you made this decision, like you gotta stick to it, but I don't think they knew how bad it was. We all started to experience panic attacks and we just wanted to be home. I absolutely hated like every second there, and I'm pretty sure they did too. I have so many stories of just whack, horrible things that happened there. But like I said, there was one good thing that came out of it, and that was meeting my best friend, and she was the girl that I didn't know when I first moved in. We became inseparable like super quick. We did everything together, and when we weren't at practice or worrying about practice, we were like laughing. The whole time we were supposed to be doing school, we would be laughing. Like, I never laughed harder than I did with that girl. We would have movie nights like all the time, and since we were all staying in the same bedroom, we ended up making a fort underneath our beds because they were all touching, and we'd watch movies under there. My best friend ended up bringing her cat, and we also had a hamster. That hamster is a story for a different time, but we had so much fun having like the cat there. We were definitely all trauma bonded because we went through so much together. I still talk to the girl I was best friends with. I actually FaceTimed her the other night, and she's my best friend I've ever had in my entire life. I wish I could have met my bestie in a different way because the damage was so not worth it. This entire thing lasted over a year, so let me know if you want more stories from this time in my life because I have so many.
Usually when my clients arrive for their appointment, they're not wearing any makeup. But this girl wore makeup to the appointment just to have me take it off and then do her makeup again. I thought that was a little strange, but after I removed her makeup, I saw her nose. The tip of her nose was bright red and even a little bit deformed. It looked like a really, really bad sunburn. I tried to avoid the area when I started doing her makeup, but eventually I had to put makeup on her nose. And when I did, it was just not working. Her skin was literally peeling off. The makeup would not stay. So that's when I asked her, is there something going on with your nose that I should know about? Let me also just say that at this point, it was starting to swell and was noticeably more red than it was when she got there. That's when she told me that she had recently been out of the country for a mission trip and that she had picked up a flesh-eating bacteria, which had affected her nose. Then she told me not to worry because she had been on antibiotics for months, and that the irritation on her nose was just her skin healing. For once, I was horrified, not my client.
Today I fucked up by selling my girlfriend's dog without her knowing. I know the title makes me sound horrible, but please hear me out. Also, something you should know is my girlfriend has diagnosed anxiety, but this will be important later. Me, 29 male, and my girlfriend, 27, moved in together about 6 months ago. She only makes about $12,000 per year at her lower paying job, so I paid most of the bills. This arrangement worked and I didn't mind contributing that much. However, 4 months ago, I lost my job. We have had no savings and this was a devastating blow, and I have not been able to get new employment. We missed rent and received our 30 days eviction notice. My girlfriend's response was to shut down, and her anxiety became debilitating. So I had to do all of the apartment hunting alone. Keep in mind, I had to do all of this on a very restrictive budget and on a time restraint because of the eviction. I don't have any family as I was raised in the foster care system, and my girlfriend's family can't help us because of unfortunate personal circumstances, which I completely understand, but it's still frustrating. In the end, I found only one apartment within our budget, but it didn't allow for dogs. This meant that I would have to find a home for our dog, Augie. I asked a few friends to take him in, but we don't have many, and since we live in the city, all of their apartments won't allow dogs. Please keep in mind that I have been providing my girlfriend with regular updates, and she is well aware of the situation. So I texted my girlfriend a week before the eviction that I put down a deposit on the apartment. The messages go as following. Me, I put a deposit down. We need to think about finding a home for Augie. Her, I don't want to think about this right now. It's all just too much. Me, I know it's a lot, but no one can take him in. I've tried everything. Can we please reconsider selling him? Her, absolutely not. We had numerous other conversations about this before I finally realized she wasn't in the stable state of mind and that I had to do something now or we were going to be homeless. So I found a family with young kids who I knew Augie would love. I visited their house to make sure it was a good fit. The meeting went wonderful and they even had a backyard and a dog park down the street. I knew Augie would be happy. So Augie and I traveled to their house multiple times over the next few days to get him adjusted. On the final day, I said my goodbyes to him. I didn't tell my girlfriend I was doing this because I knew she would stop me. The family agreed to let us visit whenever we wanted to, so I knew she would get to see him. Please note that this is the hardest decision that I have ever had to make. I was just in so much pain as I was in just as much pain as my girlfriend, but I was just able to manage it better. When I got home, I broke the news to her and she instantly broke down. We moved into the new apartment and she's been crying for days and I feel terrible about it.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. That's tough. Oh my gosh.
I can't even think about like giving up Lynn and Jack.
Literally, that is like either you're homeless or you give up your dog. And the hardest thing about all of this is like they don't have anybody to help. Like he was raised in foster care. Like he doesn't have any family to go to.
Am I the asshole for refusing to attend my friend's wedding because she didn't invite my significant other, claiming she forgot to include him on the guest list? This is a throwaway account. So I, 28 female, have been friends with Lynn, 29 female, since meeting in college, and despite our differing views, we've always been close. Lynn recently got engaged, and as she began planning her traditional and somewhat conservative wedding, I knew there might be some challenges. When the wedding invitations arrived, my heart sank as I noticed that my significant other, Jake, 30 male, wasn't included. Concerned, I called her, hoping it was a mistake with printing or something, only to hear her say, "Oh, I totally forgot to include Jake on the guest list, but you can still come, right?" I hesitated, knowing that this issue wasn't just an oversight. Jake is transgender, and I was aware of Lynn's more Republican views on gender and relationships due to the fact that for years we've specifically argued over Jake being trans. I knew she felt it was unnatural for people to stray away from their gender they were born with, and I did feel that was always a deeper motivation. I explained how important Jake is to me and that excluding him felt like a rejection of our relationship. Lynn brushed it off, claiming that they were already over the guest limit and didn't want to complicate things. I knew this was untrue because she herself told me weeks prior that she wasn't limiting the amount of people that could attend. Unable to go without Jake, I made the difficult decision to skip the wedding. As the date approached, Lynn reached out again, asking if I reconsidered. I stuck by my decision, trying to convey the impact her exclusion had on him, and me as an extension, due to the fact that I was not willing to let it slide that she deliberately left him off the list. Now our mutual friends are divided, with some accusing me of making it about politics and others supporting my decision to stand up for my relationship. Am I the asshole here?
Am I the jerk for not telling my son that his brother had passed away? Info: my youngest slept with his brother's wife. After my oldest found out, he and his wife got a divorce, and my youngest son married her a year later. I'm 56 male, my oldest son is 33 male, had cancer and passed away 3 weeks ago. Over the months leading up to his death, my youngest son, 30 male, and his wife had been trying to reconcile with my oldest son, but he always made it known that he wanted nothing to do with them. He specifically told me that they were unforgiven and that he wouldn't forgive them just to ease their guilt. When I kept bringing up the idea of reconciling, he used to get mad at me, so I stopped trying. He kept telling my youngest and his wife that they had to accept that he wanted nothing to do with them and that they needed to move on. When my oldest passed away, I did not tell my youngest son or his wife to honor his wishes. He always made it clear that they did not deserve to mourn him in life and didn't deserve to mourn him in death either. About a week ago, my youngest son saw his brother's obituary and he called me screaming for not telling him that his brother had passed away. He told me that I denied him the opportunity to make things right and that I should have told him that his brother passed. I told him that it would be disrespectful for him to come in the first place as his brother wouldn't have wanted him there and that he and his wife denied themselves from attending. He hung up on me and blocked my number. My wife told me that she feels guilty for not telling him and that we should have given him the opportunity to say goodbye to his brother. I told her that I would find it disrespectful of us to do so as he made it clear he did not want them to come. She told me that she understands, but she's upset that our youngest is mad at us and that we should just try to put everything behind us and heal. I told her that what our youngest did was unforgivable and I was not going to allow him to disrespect his brother in life or in death. My wife has been crying constantly because our son blocked us, and she started blaming me as well. I'm hurt, but I don't regret what I did or even see what I did wrong. I feel like my youngest should just take accountability for his actions instead of blaming everyone else. Am I the jerk? Your youngest son and his wife have some damn nerve. They got no right to be mad at anyone but themselves because they did this. Tell him you didn't rob him of anything. He lost the right to say goodbye to his brother when he married his wife. Your son was expecting automatic forgiveness just by being there, and that's not how it works. Just because your brother was dying on his deathbed doesn't mean he would automatically forgive you or forget what y'all did. What makes your son even more selfish is the fact that he waited until his brother was dying to want to reconcile just to ease his own guilt. And your wife has no right to be mad at you either because she could have picked that phone up at any time and called her other son and said, hey, your brother just died, but she didn't. That's on her. I understand they're her kids and she wanted him to be there at the funeral, but that's not what your oldest son wanted. I don't believe in that forgive and forget crap. If you hurt me and I want to cut you out of my life, I have every right to. At least you, out of everyone, respected your oldest son's wishes and did what he asked. Am I the jerk for telling my in-laws that their adopted kid isn't welcome here anymore and that I will kick them out if they go against me? Before anyone comes for me, yes, I am legally allowed to kick them out whenever. They pay 0 bills here and don't even get their mail here. My mother-in-law and father-in-law moved to my home 5 months ago to help us. This was immediately following me giving birth to my daughter. They occupy the space above my garage. They pay 0 bills despite both working full-time. As I said, they don't even get their mail sent here. The whole point of them moving here was to help with the baby because my husband is deployed and I had no one. 2 weeks after they moved in, their adopted son, 21 male, came to live with them. They did not ask me. I immediately ran into issues with this because he blares the horn from the driveway for seemingly no reason. He has severe ADHD and apparently it's a tic, or revs his truck and dirt bike up for hours for no effing reason, and it wakes the baby up constantly. So I directly told him either he stops or he wasn't welcome here anymore. My in-laws stopped coming over after that. I literally did not see them once from November to January because they were pissed at me because their son said F this and moved out with his girlfriend, and they blamed me for being controlling and causing problems. Well, 2 weeks ago, their son moved back in, I'm assuming because he's here 24/7, and as of last week, he started taking his dirt bike back out again, and once again, my baby isn't sleeping because he revs the piss out of it right outside of our window. Whenever I went outside to say anything to him, he would take off, so I never got the chance. But today, he was sitting out in the driveway and started blaring his truck horn and yelling out the window, telling his mom to hurry up. He literally blared the horn for a solid 3 minutes straight. I was pissed because I had just got the baby to sleep, and she has been difficult lately, and she's been teething. So I went outside and flipped the F out. I told him to get off my property and that he wasn't welcome back here. My mother-in-law immediately started jumping to her son's defense and said that I couldn't tell her who she could and couldn't have here, so I screamed back, "The fuck I can't, you don't pay bills here, you don't even get your effing mail here." So I directly told him either he stops or he wasn't welcome here anymore. My in-laws stopped coming over after that. I literally did not see them once from November to January because they were pissed at me because their son said F this and moved out with his girlfriend, and they blamed me for being controlling and causing problems.
I, 27M, have 9 siblings, a biological twin brother, and 8 adopted siblings. When our parents had us, my mom also had a hysterectomy. They weren't ready to stop with us, and they were at a very comfortable place financially, so they decided to foster and adopt. Our relatives were always against adoption. We cut all of them out. We started to reconnect with them after my mom's brother passed, and we had somewhat of a relationship. I got married to my beautiful wife 2 weeks ago. My parents and my siblings were at the front table with my in-laws. I put the extended family tables a little far from us. They complained and asked, why don't we have the front tables? We are much closer to you as blood, you know. This boiled my blood. I kicked all of them out immediately. AITA, you're telling me that 8 of my siblings, you're closer to me when you literally wouldn't talk to me because of them? All the way off, and then I would just have a glass of champagne and dance the night away, honey.
I had a crush on my brother's best friend. We're gonna call him Pedro. One day, my brother and Pedro had a plan to go to the beach together, and then Pedro invited me. And I was like, let me check if I have something to do. I don't. I'm gonna go, Pedro, don't worry. So the night before, I was like, I need to look scandalous. Like, so scandalous. So I remember I wore this 2-piece bathing suit. So long story short, the day came, and we went to the beach. So we get to the water, and immediately I go in. I wanted to show him, like, I'm a bra girl. Oh, this is the best part. So I'm coming out of the water and I'm trying to look like a baddie. Like, I'm trying to walk out all cute, like the hair is wet and everything. And I noticed Pedro was looking at my legs. So I was like, maybe he's trying to shoot his shot. So I went to go tell him something. And I was like, why do you keep looking at me? And he was like, look at your legs. I look at my legs. There's a whole ass piece of poop from the beach water.
Every year, the weekend before St. Pat's, her friend from high school, Dean, has a birthday bar crawl. She dated Dean for a bit in high school. We're much older now, so that doesn't bother me. We got to the pregame around noon and went to the first bar at like 2 p.m. She kept running off with her friends, and I didn't know a single person there. These aren't friends she sees that often, so I've never met them before. I spent most of my time at the first 3 bars looking for her. She was drunk and hyper, and I know she was looking forward to see these friends, but it just felt like she ditched me. I even expressed to her that if she wanted to go without me, it'd be okay because I'm kind of shy and not great with large groups, but she insisted that I go, only for her to not be around me most of the time. When it came time to go to bar 3, I found her and told her I had an Uber coming back to my apartment and she can come over, you know, when she's done. Now she's saying she's not going to come over and she's mad at me for leaving. AITA. She sounds drunk.
That's what I'm saying too. As she keeps going to these bars, that's why she's going to start a fight, you know, because sometimes you want to fight when you get a little drunk.
Am I the asshole for canceling my sister's visit even though her therapist said she needed a vacation? About 3 years ago, my stepsister Daphne got pregnant. She and her husband Jim were thrilled, but found out at the 20-week scan that the baby had a congenital condition and would be born severely disabled. Apologies if these are insensitive terms. I'm not sure how people prefer to say it. Daphne decided to keep going with the pregnancy despite Jim's protests, and they split up, but got back together by the time their son Liam was born. He is now 2 years old. Over the last 2 years, Daphne's and Jim's mental health has declined significantly. Daphne used to be a positive and pleasant person, but now it's impossible to have a conversation with her. She is malicious, envious, and flies off the handle at any perceived slight. When I was having my child, I didn't speak to her for most of the pregnancy because of how bitter and narcissistic she was. We don't live close to Daphne, so we rarely see her in person, but I've heard she was getting worse from our parents. In early November, Daphne had a mental breakdown. She trashed Liam's room completely and vandalized Jim's car in a fit of a rage. This was enough to finally get her moved up on the waiting list for mental health services, and she started therapy. She reached out to me during this time, and we had a few conversations, and I invited her and Jim to visit my husband and I for vacation at our beach house in March. Then we saw Daphne and Jim over Christmas, and it was awful. Daphne could keep herself in check for a couple of hours, but then she would revert back to her old self. She would swear constantly, and while I know Liam can't understand her, I think swearing at kids isn't okay. Whenever I expressed concern for her, she would just snap that I need to get off my high horse about having a perfect child. Jim was snapping at her constantly. He would also constantly ask to hold or play with my child, to the point it got annoying. Overall, the whole Christmas break was just the whole family being anxious over the situation. My husband finally said a week ago that he didn't want Daphne and Jim visiting, and I agreed. I called Daphne and said something that had come up with my husband's work. We needed to cancel the trip. Daphne was furious. Apparently, her therapist had been saying how good this break would be for her. They haven't been on vacation since having Liam, and I owed her this one thing to help her. Eventually, she gave up and said I was a horrible person for pulling the rug out from under her and hung up. I feel bad if I'm derailing her recovery, and even my parents think I shouldn't have canceled, which is making me rethink things. They saw how absolutely horrible she was to me over Christmas. They saw how obsessed Jim had become with my child, and they still think I should have put that aside, and they're not normally the keep the peace type of people, so maybe I am really in the wrong. Am I the asshole here?
No way. You can't be the asshole. I mean, like, you gotta put yourself first. Am I the asshole for not breaking my husband's rule about our kids meeting my dad? For the context needed, my parents had me really young and in a really bad place. I don't know if it was the stress or the number of kids they had, but they just didn't love me. I was basically my mother's maid, and she was emotionally and mentally abusive, but only towards me and not my siblings. My dad blames me for ruining his life since he had to drop out of high school. He was forced to marry my mom and was stuck raising kids. I managed to escape at 20 and finally had enough money saved, so I never looked back. I met my husband, Richard, late in my 20s, and we got married, and we had our first child very quickly, followed by our other two. They are now 12 male, 9 male, and 7 female. Richard is my everything. He's a gentleman, a great husband, and a great dad to our kids. Anyways, 6 months ago, my dad contacted me through Facebook. He sent a long message apologizing for how he treated me and how he had found God. He also mentioned that he had divorced my mother and wanted his eldest daughter back in his life. I was skeptical and talked to my husband about it. He was against me forgiving my dad, but supported me in giving him a chance with the clear rule that my dad would never get to meet our kids. I accepted this rule. We started with emails, then video calls, and eventually met in person. I thought things were going great, but whenever there was mention of my dad meeting my kids, I would shut it down, saying I would be disrespecting my husband's wishes if I allowed that. He understood and backed off. But everything came to a head last week when we were at a coffee place. My dad started ranting about how I hadn't truly forgiven him since I wouldn't let him into my life, meaning my kids. I tried explaining that Richard doesn't want the kids to meet him, but my dad cut me off and accused me of being a true Christian for forgiving with strings attached. I was hurt that he insulted my faith, but he tried to corner me and demand that I let him meet my kids. I didn't let him bully me and I left the coffee place. But since then, I've been bombarded with messages from my dad and siblings who are now calling me names and belittling me. My little sister even insulted me by calling me my husband's dog. I'm now questioning whether I'm in the wrong. I don't want to break the rule my husband and I agreed upon, as he is just as much as the parent over our children as I am. However, their accusations are making me feel like I'm spineless for supporting my husband. So am I the asshole for refusing to break my husband's rule about our kids meeting my dad?
No. And this is clear as day showing you made the right decision in cutting off your family.
Exactly.
Am I the asshole for not letting my best friend move in with me? I, female 23, have a best friend, Molly, female 23, I've known since primary school. We grew up together on a rough estate, and she's basically lived at my mom's house as her home was not fun. Alcoholic parents, basically. I worked really hard at school, got into uni, and now have a good job. Not great money, but lots of potential. I kept in touch with Molly, and we have seen each other over every few weeks. She works in a bar and has her own flat now, but it's not a great place to live. 2 weeks ago, Molly told me she was pregnant. At first, I was happy for her, but she doesn't know the dad. Drunken night out, although I don't know if she's telling me everything, and is really scared. Of course, I said I would always be there for her, but she's taken it very literally. Last week, she called me and asked if she could move in with me. I have a spare room, and technically I could fit her in, assuming that the landlady is okay with it. She was crying on the phone, saying she doesn't want to keep the baby because it would grow up in some crappy estate we grew up in, and she can't do it on her own, and her mom won't talk to her, and she's scared. But if she could live with me, we could do it together, and it could go to a nicer school, and she could pay for rent. I don't know what to say. I want to tell her no, I can't live with a baby. It would ruin everything, and I can't believe she's even asked me. I feel like if I say no, she won't carry on with the pregnancy, and she will blame me for that. I don't know how to tell her I can't do it.
Oh, that is tough. But this chick is coming off with like this entitled behavior that like
it is entitled.
You think your friend that seems to be a little distance now, they're not best friends still, wants to be your the parent of your kid? Yeah. You sound like you're putting it all on her. You want to raise the kid with her. Like, yeah, no, I don't want you to move in with me, even though we haven't really been seeing each other. And then I have a kid.
Yeah.
My mom wants me to marry my dead sister's husband. Storytime. Someone please effing help me to escape this madness. I am beyond appalled, disgusted, and just effing shocked. I've got no one I can tell this to yet, and I need to get this off my chest. 4 months ago, my sister, 27 female, passed away and left behind her children. Collectively, we have done our part as a family to help them regain normalcy the best that we can. We have been by their side every step of the way in dealing with her absence and their grief. As of recently, I, 23 female, have started to remove myself away from anything which has to do with her husband, who we'll call R, 30 male. Due to the comments, sometimes inappropriate, but usually on the lines of how I look exactly like my sister. I still make every effort to manage the kids to the best of my ability, and I still have them on my days regardless. The bombshell was dropped a few days ago, and my sister's clothes were strewn all over, even her wedding dress, while my mother, my other sister, R, and his brother sat around. According to them, my deceased sister's kids require a mother and her husband requires a wife, and since I am an identical copy to her, I am the one to fulfill this role. Like what the actual F? I am fully aware grief can cause individuals to say weird things and act oddly at times, but this is something entirely different. The most dreadful aspect for me was the fact that they had already taken away her photos and begun preparing for the wedding. I am very lucky as R's mother and father have not only selflessly taken myself in, but also their grandbabies. She is adamantly against this nonsense and feels we are not safe around them, which I strongly agree with. I am fortunate to have the opportunity to work elsewhere, but I can't imagine leaving my nephews behind in this mess. I am in a state of shock trying to process the situation and how I can manage everyone in this too. I do apologize if some aspects don't make sense, as I have rushed to this, I am at work, and I will add more information or details in the comments if needed. I'm just struggling to understand what could have brought this on or what could possess someone to behave like this, and I just can't wrap my head around it. I'm sorry to vent, but thank you in advance. First comment, your life could become my mother's. Please leave. This happened 70 years ago, but I have heard it still happens today. Mom's sister died while giving birth to her 4th child. Mom was forced to marry her brother-in-law when she was 15, legal back then, he was 30. Her parents didn't want anyone raising her sister's kids. They needed a mother, he needed a wife. By 22, Mom was raising 10 kids, 6 of her own, with a man she hated. It was pure hell. He beat her every day because she was not her sister. Mom tried to run away but was always forced to return. The happiest day of Mom's life was when he suddenly died. She was finally free. Mom never married again and remained a happy widow. Take that job you were offered. Your nephews are fine. They have their grandparents. Leave. I absolutely agree with that comment. If this story is real, just leave. Nobody should be forced to be with someone they don't want to be with. And those children should know you are not their mother. You're their aunt. And they should remember who their mother was. And I'm so sorry that you lost your sister and they lost their mother, but it's not your responsibility to be her. Am I the a-hole for getting upset with my girlfriend for sitting on another man's lap? I, 28 male, went out to a live music venue to celebrate my girlfriend, 23 female sister's birthday. I arrived about an hour earlier than my girlfriend because she and her sister's friends met up at a restaurant bar beforehand, and I met up with my friends at the venue. While I was at the venue, I got a message from my girlfriend that she sat on a man in a wheelchair's lap, and he spun her around, which upset me a bit because we have spoken about boundaries in the past, and she's well aware that I wouldn't be cool with it. When she arrived at the venue, I was a little cold with her because I was upset. She apologized, and I thought things were fine. But every 20 minutes, I had to hear from someone about how she's sorry and I shouldn't be upset, which I didn't mind at first, but after the 5th person, I just got extremely frustrated. I didn't want the night to be about such a non-issue. Later on, my girlfriend's sister came to speak with me about it, and I explained to her why I didn't like it. And she said, well, my girlfriend didn't even need to tell me what happened, like it makes everything better somehow, and like she's done me some kind of favor by telling me what happened. Honestly, I would rather have not known and just enjoyed my night. When I got back to the table my girlfriend was sitting at, she shouted and swore at me and ran off. I went to ask her what was going on, and admittedly, I completely lost my cool at this point. Some random guy tried to talk to us, and I politely asked him to leave us alone, but he wouldn't, so I yelled at him to F off somewhat aggressively, and he left. I knew I wasn't a-hole for that. My girlfriend explained that she swore at me because she thought I was being shitty to her sister, which I wasn't, and confirmed with her sister. Am I the a-hole? Your problem is not your girlfriend sitting on other people's laps. Your problem is your girlfriend has a flock of people, and all of these people that she surrounds herself with think that they have the right to be involved in your relationship. Hell, they think they're entitled to it. One thing about me, when I'm with someone, we're together. Nobody else gets in our business. We don't drag nobody else into our business. Now, we will ask other people for advice, but we do not bring anyone into our relationship problems. I cannot stand being with someone who has to call their mom every single time we have an argument, and then their mom and their sister and their brother comes over and wants to get involved in it. I'm not doing that shit. If we can't handle this like adults, then we don't need to be together. And maybe you are kind of jealous, and you need to work on that. But y'all did set these boundaries before she did this, and she knew you would not like it, so she crossed the line. I think you both have a lot of work to do, and you need to mature more before you get serious. Anyways, I want to hear your thoughts about this in the comments. Let me know what you think down below. My husband takes everyone's side against me, and I mean everyone, including strangers. The latest incident was my stepson, who is 16. He had a friend from school over this week. Let's call him T. He's 17. I met T twice. He's a typical teen boy who I know has chronic cold sores. I gave him meds last time he was here. Well, yesterday I saw him putting his mouth on my 1.5-year-old's toys. I grabbed it and washed it before my baby woke up. Later, I mentioned it to my husband, saying it was gross because who knows where the kid's mouth has been. And my husband completely invalidated my feelings and told me it was normal. He even said, to be fair, I would totally do the same thing if I was him. I am legitimately floored and disgusted that my 43-year-old husband would say that he would put a random baby's toy in his mouth in some weird effort to defend someone against me. I feel like that's insane. Am I wrong? I feel like I'm losing my mind. I tell your husband, okay, here, put this toy in your mouth, since you think it's so normal, because I bet you he won't. He's just contradicting you. Now, she clarified this teen does not have any disabilities. He was just putting the baby's toys in his mouth. And that's probably why he's got cold sores, because he keeps putting random stuff in his mouth. Honestly, I would just throw that baby toy away. You can buy a new one. And I would flat out tell him, do not put my child's toys in your mouth whether you have cold sores or not. I wouldn't be rude, but I would try to educate him on hygiene, cold sores, and why he shouldn't put things in his mouth, because it's pretty obvious his parents have not taught him enough.
Am I the asshole for leaving my girlfriend while she was sick for my sister? I, 20 male, and my girlfriend, 20 female, have been together for about 6 months. She's great, and this is our first issue. My sister, Carla, who is 18 female, is in a rough situation right now. She is living with her girlfriend, Julie, 19 female, in a 1-bedroom apartment in an infamously dangerous place. She barely makes enough to survive and has little to no money for extra spending. This will be relevant later. My girlfriend recently came down with a stomach bug. First day, she texts me that she's sick and how she's miserable. I say, I'm sorry, and I comfort her a little over text. Then I get a bunch of scolding messages from her friends for not going to her house and taking care of her immediately, even skipping classes to be with her. Honestly, I felt bad, but I didn't get the memo from the text. I figured if she needs anything, she'll let me know. She's got it covered. Maybe I'll DoorDash her some food later and leave it at that. I really didn't want to get sick, but decided to go take care of her anyways. Everything was well until I get a call from Carla late in the night while my girlfriend was asleep. Carla told me she walked into the apartment to find Julie had thrown all of her stuff out and put a note on her suitcase saying they were done. No reason whatsoever. Carla was inconsolable. We call our other brother, and he says Carla can stay with him, but he can't pick her up because he's home alone with his newborn baby. Carla doesn't have a car, no money for an Uber, in an infamously dangerous area. Also, she lives 20 minutes away. It would be 3 hours and 30 minutes drive each way to my brother's. So I leave a note for my girlfriend telling her I'll be back soon. It's 4 a.m. at this point, and I also text her. I tried to wake her up, but she was dead asleep. So I go, pick up my sister, bring her to my brother's, and get her all situated. I ended up being back at my girlfriend's around noon. I tried to call her at 10 a.m. as well, but with no answer. I go in and she is crying and is mad at me. She yells at me that how dare I leave her when she isn't feeling good and that I wasn't prioritizing her. I said I understand how she felt and I tried to explain the situation. She just continued to say that nobody should be more important than my girlfriend and that I really don't even care about her. I asked her what she would have liked me to do and she said she would have liked me to Venmo Carla money so she can get an Uber herself. I agreed that was a possibility and my mind was all over the place. She's still mad and her friends have also told me that I'm an asshole and if their boyfriends left them when they were sick, they would break up with them. I really didn't think what I did was wrong, but now that everybody's mentioning all these ulterior options, I feel like I could be the asshole. Am I the asshole though?
I played a prank I saw on TikTok on my sister, and I discovered a secret that shook me to my core. I am 24 years old, and I am 2 years older than my sister. We wear the same size in clothes and shoes. Because of that, she'll come for my things without my knowledge sometimes and misplace them. When I asked her about it, she would deny taking them. One day, I discovered one of my dresses was not in my wardrobe. She had wanted to borrow this dress a week ago, and I had told her no. I knew immediately that she was the one who had taken it, but I also knew that if I go and ask her about it, she was going to deny it. I saw a prank on TikTok where this girl approached their sister and just told her with a serious face that I know what you did. She kept insisting till her sister admitted to something she didn't even know about. I decided to play this prank on my sister to get her to admit to taking my dress. She was sitting in the living room when I approached her with a serious face. I looked at her straight in the eyes and told her I know what you did. For just a second, I saw fear in her eyes. Then she was like, I don't know what you are talking about. But I could see on her face that she was hiding something from me. So I started acting very seriously as if I was angry and told her that if she doesn't admit the truth that very minute, I would never forgive her. I just wanted her to admit to taking the dress, but she burst into tears instead, and this took me by surprise. I was about to tell her I was just joking when she said it is not my fault, it is Fred's fault. Fred is my fiancé and we are getting married in a couple of months' time. Part 2 is up. That was the last thing I was expecting to hear from my sister. I pretended as if I knew what she was talking about and told her to go on. And what this girl told me shook me to my core. So apparently my fiancé Fred had kissed my sister out of nowhere during my birthday last year. She said she pushed him away. She said Fred apologized immediately and she didn't want to tell me about it because she felt Fred was drunk when he did it. Also, for some reason, she couldn't forget about the kiss. My heart was on fire when this girl was telling me this, and I even thought that was all. A few weeks later, Fred came to the house and he slept over. Apparently, he went to knock on my sister's door in the middle of the night and they ended up sleeping together. After that, they couldn't stop. So anytime he came over to sleep over, after sleeping with me, he would go to my sister's room and sleep with her. This went on for months and I never suspected anything. There was a period when I suspected Fred was cheating on me. Like, I just felt something was wrong somewhere. Now, this is a guy I've dated for 4 years. He was my best friend and I trusted him. When I suspected he was cheating on me, I went through his phone, but I didn't find anything. I guess I should have gone through his chats with my sister. If you think this is bad, wait till you hear what she told me next. Fred impregnated her 3 months ago just after he came to do my knocking. She didn't know what to do, so she went to my mother, and my mother took her to the hospital to terminate the pregnancy. My mother knew about this and she didn't tell me anything about it. I've always thought she was the best mother ever. Someone who have always got my back. Someone who wanted the best for me. She knew this was a man I was going to get married married to in a couple of months' time. I couldn't believe she would really let me go ahead and marry a man like this. I felt so stupid and so betrayed. When I confronted my mom, she said she was trying to protect my feelings and that she didn't want to destroy the relationship between my sister and I. Can you believe that? So because you don't want to destroy my relationship with my sister, you are going to sit down and watch me as I married this evil man. I broke things off with my boyfriend that day and I packed my things and left the house. I lost the 3 most important people in my life that day. I'm so hurt right now and I don't know what to do to myself. I don't know how I will ever get over this betrayal. If you don't know how to do your makeup at all and you want to learn how to do it, I've got you. I have online makeup classes for beginners now and it is only 100 cedis. Click the link in my bio to register and follow me for more story times.
I surprised my girlfriend with Taylor Swift tickets, but she wanted to bring her friend to the concert instead.
Oh.
Me and my girlfriend, both 26, have been dating for 3 years now. My girlfriend is a huge Taylor Swift fan and was really excited when she found out Taylor would be performing at the MetLife Stadium, which is right near us. I decided to surprise her with Taylor Swift concert tickets since I knew she really wanted to go. I called in sick the day the tickets dropped and waited in the Ticketmaster queue for 2 hours. Finally, when it opened up, I bought 2 tickets for $400 each. Presumably, one was for her and the other was for me. When she came back from work that night, I surprised her with the tickets. She was ecstatic. However, when I claimed I was excited to go with her, she got confused and claimed she thought the 2 tickets were for her and her best friend, who is also a big Taylor Swift fan. I was very disappointed since I believed that this was an experience we could do together and it would be something we would remember for the rest of our lives. My girlfriend could tell I was upset and said she would be happy to go with me instead. I told her she should go with whoever she wants to go with and not go with me just because it was what I had planned. After hearing this, my girlfriend immediately called her best friend and told her that they were going to see the Taylor Swift in concert together. Ouch. I told my girlfriend that if her friend wanted to go, she had to pay the $400 for the ticket, and that's what her friend agreed to do. While my girlfriend and her friend went together and both had a great time, I felt betrayed since she chose her over me. While I know my girlfriend's BFS is a much bigger Swiftie fan than me, I was still excited to go since I'd never been to a concert before, and I like to listen to some of Taylor Swift's songs. Like I said before, I also believe this would be a great memory for the both of us to remember together. Should I have done things differently and not given up my ticket so willingly?
I mean, that's tough because she already said that she didn't want to go with you. So how can you say, like, no, I'm insisting I want to go with you? Like, at that point, it's like, okay, if you don't want to freaking go with me, don't go with me. Like,
yeah,
take your friend. I don't want to go with you anymore.
My boyfriend thinks that my dad's gifts are creepy. Every year for Valentine's Day, my dad, 59 male, gives/sends me, 23 female, flowers and a box of chocolate. He has done this every year since I've been old enough to remember. He always gives them to me when I was little, so when I went to college and beyond, he has had them delivered to me. It's just a tradition for us now, and I think it's very sweet. I grew up in a really tight-knit, close family. Well, I started dating my boyfriend Mark, 25 male, a little over a year ago. Last Valentine's Day, I got the usual delivery from my dad. Mark saw and said, "Oh, your dad sent you those?" "Oh, okay." And that was it. Fast forward to this year, last night, Mark and I were discussing our Valentine's Day plans for this year. Like what restaurant we should go to, and he made a passing comment about hoping I don't get any creepy gifts in the mail this year. I was confused, and I asked him what he meant. He said, "You know how you got that stuff from your dad last year? It's creepy for a dad to be sending his adult daughter Valentine's Day gifts." I was taken aback. It's not like my dad sent me lingerie or something. It was just flowers and some chocolate. I tried explaining to Mark that this is a tradition I have always shared with my dad. He stands firm that it is creepy and weird, and he said that his friends thought it was weird too. I tried to let it go, but this has been bothering me. Like, one, I have never heard these kinds of negative comments from Mark before, and I'm not sure whether or not this should be a red flag. I have never been in a serious relationship before, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Number 2, when my dad's delivery comes this month, I don't want Mark to feel uncomfortable. Number 3, is it actually creepy for my dad to be sending this stuff? I have never found it so, but would like to hear some other perspectives. Thanks.
She sees the red flags and she needs to frickin' run.
My husband of 20 years has been cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. Update. Y'all, she told her kids about the affair and she spoke with Amy's mother. She says, my brother connected me with a very tough junkyard dog type attorney. I saved the screenshots of all their conversations and I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. Their conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things they said about me. His call history showed that he talks to her for hours, pretty consistently, and he uses dating apps. I took screenshots of all the profiles and all his active chats and who he is matched with. It's very clear that he uses a filter to seek out young girls who are between 18 to 22 years old. I copied all the files from the computer. He goes in Schmeg's chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like schoolgirl Catholic school outfits and uniforms and French maid outfits too. So I picked the kids up and took them to my brother's house, and they were able to sense something was wrong when I picked them up. I softly told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back for 3 months ago, like on my husband's iCloud, almost as if they had deleted the messages at the same time. She said that Amy sobbed when she confronted her. Amy basically told her mother that she'll never understand because they are in love, but I don't want to get into too many of the details of what she told me. But basically, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel like she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic and physical recently, and before that, she said it was more of a friendship like a mentor. So he did groom Amy, and we all knew it. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty. He had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context, context, over and over again, like none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said that I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy. Justifiably so. She watched her dad interact with her friend, and she is in knots about it. Eric is clearly hurt, but he's so strong and very level-headed, he wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this. We made the authorities aware of everything, and I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. Yes, honey, burn that ass. He deserves it. I'm reflecting on how I was treated and how it's made me a shell of myself and how I've had a very negative opinion on myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Woo, girl, yes! Like I said in part 1, get that evidence because cheaters are liars and they'll turn everyone against you to keep that secret hidden. They'll make you out to be crazy. And I'm willing to bet Amy is not the first person he's cheated with. She's just the first person he got caught with. Now watch, I bet he's going to say he can't afford to pay child support, but somehow he's got all this money for OnlyFans, cam girls, and his girlfriends. Anyways, if you want to see part 1, click that button, and thanks for watching.